Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 11 of Season 5 of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Hollywood Casino 400 here at Kansas Speedway, aka the best track we go to in this series, as we get set for 41 laps of racing here at the best track we go to in this series. By the way, have I mentioned this is the best track we go to in this series for obvious reasons from seasons past? But without further ado, before we get started, we got point standings to look at coming into the race today. So after last week at Talladega, Joshua Collard leads by 5 points over Carson Gum, and then third is Benjamin Miles, fourth Sean Galligan, fifth Dylan Jacobs, sixth Matt McIntyre, seventh James McLeod, eighth Anthony McCrory, ninth Paul Minnick, and then 10th James Qualls. So that is the top 10 as it stands coming into the race today. Some of the notable drivers on the outside of the top 10. In the top 20, though, we got Dylan Young, Jessica Sheldon, the Daytona 500 winner, Seth Cole, Jonathan Zorline, who's been starting to excel a little bit over the course of the last couple races, and then also the winner from Talladega, Dougie Shears, who actually gets into our biggest winner and biggest losers of the last race. So winner of the week was Dougie Shears, who moved up 14 spots in points from 34th to 20th. And then we had three drivers who got the biggest loser award, and they were Raphael LeDuc, Trent Dunham, and Patrick Smith, as they all fell 11 spots respectively. LeDuc fell from 13th to 24th, Trent Dunham fell from 19th to 30th, and then Patrick Smith from 21st to 32nd. But let's go ahead and take a look at the starting lineup for the race today. Starting in the last row, we got Jake Baskinger and Alex Drayton. Top 10, Jay Jefferson is on the pole for today. I believe that's his first pole this season, and indeed it is. Starting next to him is Tim Fiegel. Row 2 is Charles Sanford and Talladega winner Dougie Shears. Row 3, Matt McIntyre and Dylan Young. Row 4, Jessica Sheldon, Raphael LeDuc. And then row 5, Dylan Jacobs and Anthony McCrory. So let's go ahead and get the command to fire engines for the Hollywood Casino 400 at the Kansas.
Drivers, start your engines!
All 40 drivers on the racetrack for their one pace lap around here. So, I often always mention that this is the best racetrack we go to every single season. It's the reason being is that we always get constant lead changes and great racing all throughout the field, not just up at the front, but everywhere. Constant double to even three wide racing all race long, minus pit stops whenever those take place. And we rarely, if at all, get cautions coming out. Although the drivers for this race are going to be a little more aggressive than they've been in quite a while here at this racetrack, considering the lap times we saw for qualifying. I think we could be in for quite an exciting event as the pace car pulls into pit road, and you know what time it is, right? It's time to boogity 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 go racing! So it was Matt McIntyre who led the first lap, and remember the last time we were at a track that was shaped like this? Matt McIntyre won at Las Vegas, which was, I think, the second race of the season. And I wonder, and yeah, we're under caution. I thought I saw a bit of a gap from the top 10 on back, but Matt McIntyre has the race lead at the caution. Let's see what happened. Oh, Preston Plord's damaged. Dylan Young damaged. Charles Sanford. Oh, and they're still ongoing. Ryan Butcher goes upside down and got hit hard. Anthony McCurry, top 10 in points. I believe he came in 8th in points. Zachary Fitzwater was involved. And I'm trying to look for anybody else. I see DJ Curtis got damaged. James Qualls, I don't see damage on his car. I don't know about Jake Rogers, but yeah, Sanford was in it. Patrick Smith, with the second straight race, is going to end up out of the race. Dylan Young was in it, like I pointed out. Seth Cole, who was in the very back, was the one who slammed into Ryan Butcher and sent him upside down yet again. But chaos ensuing here at the very beginning here at Kansas. I think it's been a long time since we've had a crazy wreck like that here at this track. But let's go ahead and take you to the replay and see what brought the caution out for the first time today here at Kansas. Well, here's a look at what happened. So this was coming off of turn 2, and Tim Fiegel just got really, really tight up off the corner there, and actually it kind of turned into 5 wide going wrong right there as Sanford got turned by Fiegel, who comes down into a couple other cars, and watch Kyle Matthews just barely miss it. Right there is where Colin Phillips gets his damage, and then we get a follow-up incident. Let's see what happens here. Oh, it was shortly after when Dylan Young got contact into Fiegel as Fiegel and Sanford was coming down. Young is going to come back up the racetrack, collect Preston Plord, and then up into Anthony McCurry, and McCurry went up in the air after that. Now let's see how the rest of this unfolds. McCurry comes back down, turns into Preston, and then there's where you're going to see more cars kind of get swept away. And oh my goodness, I didn't even know McCurry went upside down. McCurry gets hit by Emmanuel Hartnett. He just went for a quick flip, but still kept the car going, even though you see all that smoke coming out. And then we're going to try and see what happened to Ryan Butcher after the fact, as he's trying to get back onto the racing surface. Right there, Chris Dollarton was really sliding, came back up and hit the 6. And then Ryan hits the wall and then comes back down. And right there was the hit from Zachary Fitzwater, and that's what's going to send him pirouetting before getting upside down, then into the wall, and then he's going to go for a wild ride, flips down the racetrack, and right there Seth Cole gets into Fitzwater. And then right there, Butcher is still flipping over. Nobody else has hit him just yet. That is until we see here in just a little bit, and I can't remember who it was that actually hit him. I thought it was Seth Cole. No, right there it was Charles Sanford, went underneath the 6. And that's what sent him going for that extra wild ride right there. So this was probably the wackiest wreck we've had in quite some time at this racetrack. As let's go back and take a look at how this starts one more time before we take you back to the restart. So Fiegel gets that run and gets into Sanford a little bit, and then because he keeps getting tight, gets into Sanford, comes back down into Dylan Young. Kyle Matthews gets some minor cosmetic damage. Colin Phillips gets more damage shortly afterwards. And then Dylan Young comes back up into Preston Plord, which gets him up into McCurry. And then you're going to see some more chaos ensue after Sanford and Phillips get together. And then right here you see McCurry get the wall before the contact right there into the door from Hartnett sends him for a quick flip over that eventually tore the motor up on that race car, but still kept it going straight after the fact. And then you're going to see Ryan Butcher get collected by the sliding Chris Dollarton, which sends him back up in the Dylan Poteet, and Poteet got some damage in that. And then Butcher up into the outside wall before sliding back down and getting hit right there from Fitzwater Jonathan Zorlane actually got involved. I actually didn't know about him. And then he starts pirouetting on the track, and yeah, Jake Rogers did get some damage in this wreck. And then there's Seth Cole's damage. DJ Curtis had already gotten damaged before piling in there. Galligan, I'm not sure if he actually even got involved or if he just slowed down enough to where he didn't end up hitting anybody. But then the final portion of the wreck is going to come in when you see Charles Sanford come in here and look at him go literally underneath the 6 of Butcher, hit him, send him for an extra wild ride right there. And then there you see Dylan Young, who was already damaged goods, and I think, oh, I didn't know about this, runs right over Seth Cole's machine, and that actually sent Seth Cole upside down. I actually completely forgot about this part. I actually didn't even know this happened. I knew I saw front-end damage on Dylan Young's car. I didn't know how it was caused, but right there, ran right into the back of Seth Cole and sent him flipping over. That was a hard wreck right there for those two. But Matt McIntyre led at the caution, so let's go ahead and take you to the restart here at Kansas. Well, after that big one that ensued on lap 2, we got 8 cars out of the race, and the 3 that still will get points are Charles Sanford, Anthony McCreary, and Patrick Smith. Everyone else will not get points. Zachary Fitzwater, Dylan Young, Preston Plord, Ryan Butcher, and Seth Cole. We're down to 32 cars on track. Matt McIntyre is your race leader. Second is Dylan Jacobs. Third, Carson Gum. Fourth is our points leader, Joshua Collard. Fifth, Paul Minnick. Sixth, Rafael Leduc. Seventh is Jessica Sheldon. Eighth is Dougie Shears. Ninth, Jay Jefferson. 10th, Kyle Matthews. Rest of the top 20 is James McLeod, Chris Dollarton, Ethan Hoffman, Trent Dunham, Jake Baskinger, Tim Fiegel, Joshua Sekuli, Dylan Thoreau, Cullen Francis, Cody Lamas. Then the rest of the field, James Shelley, Diego Yepes, James Qualls, Jonathan Zorlane, Emmanuel Hardnett, Dylan Poteet, Sean Galligan, Benjamin Miles, DJ Curtis, Colin Phillips, Jake Rogers, and Alex Drayton. And we're back underway with 35 laps to go. Still a long way to go, and I think maybe it'll calm down since we got the wrecking out of the way. Maybe we'll actually see the great racing we often get here at Kansas, and we're starting to see that already. Here comes Joshua Collard with a huge run to try and take second away, and then 3 wide for third as Dylan Jacobs gets stuck on the outside lane, which is where you don't want to end up at. Otherwise, you could end up losing a ton of ground and possibly lose the race. But then again, this track is so self-cleaning when it comes to passing. You can make anything work, and you could even be in the back and still work your way up here to the front. Speaking of up here at the front, Joshua Collard is now the race leader as he takes the lead from Matt McIntyre. And here comes Dougie Shears as Dougie trying to go for 2 in a row. He won at Talladega last week, and he's running very strong here in the early going here at Kansas, and now he's going to go for the move. Couple of good friends coming up behind, Rafael Leduc and Kyle Matthews, as they're trying to work their way into this battle. And now Leduc's going to take second, but could Kyle Matthews have something to say about that? Maybe not quite just yet. Now it's 3 wide for the 5th position. Jessica Sheldon goes underneath Matt McIntyre and Paul Minnick, and that opened the door for Jake Baskinger to now go for a run on the 6th position to take that spot away from Paul Minnick. Rookie Ethan Hoffman and rookie Cullen Francis, 2 rookies now up here into the top 10. Then you got Cody Lamas, who was, I believe, in around the 20 to 22nd range on the restart, and now he's up here into the top 10. But right now he's got Dylan Jacobs right on his trail as he's trying to make a comeback at it, or a comeback run, as Dougie Shears still hangs on to the race lead, but now he's got 2 Retro Racing Enterprise teammates coming into the picture, Kyle Matthews and Jessica Shelton. Meanwhile, 3 wide for 4th once again, and this time Cullen Francis will take that spot as he's getting followed by another rookie, Ethan Hoffman, and so far, oh, little bit of contact right there between Francis and Sheldon, but they keep it together. No wreck right there. As meanwhile, since Dougie Shears has gotten the race lead, not really anybody's made a challenge to him, at least not just yet. Jake Baskinger trying to take the 5th position away from Sheldon. And now also, here comes Dylan Thoreau, who is in desperate need of a good finish as he comes in 39th in points. Right now, he's having a very strong top 10 run going, almost into the top 5, might I add. Matt McIntyre, who led early on under caution, he's trying to come back, and now he's up here back into the top 10. So too is Joshua Collard. As I'm looking around, James Qualls, who restarted towards the back of the field, and now he's up here, last scored in the 16th position. I wonder where he is now. 17th. Then behind him, battle on for 18th between two fellow Texans, Trent Dunham and Chris Dollarton. James Shelley and Joshua Sekuli are going to probably make it 3 wide. Almost made it 3 wide. And there was a little bit of contact between Shelley and Dollarton, but somehow they keep it together. Oh, little door banging action between Dylan Jacobs and Jake Baskinger, getting together a little bit, but they keep it together. As meanwhile, Shears still leads away, but here comes Matt McIntyre, who's right now to the back bumper of the 83, and now is going to pull down low. He might be able to make a move going into turn 1 as he goes on the apron, which the apron is legal here at this track. But it now may turn into 3 wide for the lead as Kyle Matthews thinks it's go time to go to the front. As he's now got the spot, but he's leaving a lot of room for Joshua Collard to try and take that spot. And he's gonna take it. As we had about 2 or 3 lead changes in 1 lap right there. As here comes Cullen Francis, who's now up here battling for 2nd. Rafael Leduc, I saw, was around 13th just 2 laps ago. And now he's back up here in 4th. It's like I said, you could fall to the very back and still somehow work your way back up here towards the front of the field. As look at the speeds they're going, over 200 miles an hour, going up to 207. Let's see how much they slowed down in the corners. Not so much. Down to about 192. Meanwhile, we got a new race leader. Cullen Francis had just gone by Joshua Collard for that position. Meanwhile, as I'm looking around for any other battles, and looks like Dylan Poteet, who suffered only minor cosmetic damage during that big one. He's up here, was in the top 10. Now he's starting to slip back a little bit. As here comes Paul Minnick with a run. Meanwhile, it's 3 wide up here between Baskinger, Jacobs, and McIntyre, as those 3 have been around each other pretty much all race long, as we are now at the halfway point. Here at Kansas, we got 20 to go, and we still got a lot of crazy action going on around the mid to lower end of the pack, and they've actually caught Jake Rogers, who's slow. And that's why it kind of got bunched up a little bit right there. And Alex Drayton. Those 2 cars are slow, and they're trying to... Whoa! Rogers about got turned by Collard, and that could have been a big, big problem. But Collard is going to end up being the biggest loser out of that whole situation, because he's still getting held up by those 2 cars. Collard thought about going underneath, but he saw Dollarton come through, and now Collard's going to finally get around him. As yes, the field is now really scattered as a result of all that. Hard to tell when drivers that are still up here at the front going to catch any other slow cars. But Cullen Francis still leads, but here comes Leduc, but also Dylan Thoreau. It's going to be 3 wide for the lead. Contact! Cullen Francis got taken out. Oh, and then a hard, vicious crash. Upside down is Jake Rogers. And then another hard hit. And now he's going for a wild ride. Oh man, this is an even worse wreck. Holy cow, that was brutal. Colin Francis was taken out of the race lead from a 3-wide incident that went completely wrong. It was Dylan Thoreau who made a 3-wide as LeDuc was going for the position on track. As now here come the leaders in the pit road, so this should pretty much top them off for gas and tires for the rest of the race. But man, that was so violent. That has to be one of the most violent wrecks we've ever had in the history of this series. And it looked like Dylan Thoreau just went with fuel only or something. I wasn't really paying attention to the pit stops. I'm just still kind of recollecting everything that just transpired. But man, that was brutal. But yeah, and it was like Thoreau made it 3-wide. LeDuc had no idea he was there, and Thoreau just got such a run. Gets into the 77 a little bit from what I could tell. We'll find out for sure when we look at the replay. But good God, it was such a violent crash that ended up taking out a very, very good race car who was in contention for the win, Colin Francis. But let's go ahead and take a look and see what really happened to bring the caution out for the second time today here at Kansas. Well, here's a look at what happened. So from what I saw prior to hitting record, yeah, right there, Colin Francis starts turning down, and LeDuc never changed his lane. It just looked like Colin just got down into LeDuc in turn with Thoreau coming in, got a tad into the 77, and that's what sent the 41 up the racetrack into the wall. And then as he starts sliding down, man, Paul Minnick was very lucky he didn't get hit. And then right here, Dylan Poteet gets into him, and then more hits are going to come in here in a little bit. Qualls gets into him just slightly, and that's what sent him up the racetrack. And then there's the Jake Rogers incident, gets into Colin, and that's what's going to send the 56 going upside down, was the hit into Colin Francis as he was on that spot between the apron and the racetrack. But then the real action, before we look back at what happened with Poteet, here's where it gets even more insane. As I'm not sure if anybody hits Francis here, but look at Miles. Slams into the 56, sending him upside down. And I don't think anybody's going to hit the 41, but look at the 56 just fly. And then Miles, he went high in the air, and let's see what happened with him. Officially, it looks like, yeah, right there, big hit from DJ Curtis into the safer barrier, and then a hit from Sean Galligan, which sent him up in the air, and then again up in the air after another hit from Emmanuel Hartnett. As I just screwed up the camera shots right there. But yeah, let's actually look at all of this from this camera angle, the TV2 camera. As Miles is into the safer barrier and then ricochets off the wall, and that's where Galligan hits him, and then right there, right in the front from Hartnett. As there you see every bit of the chaos that ensued. But let's look at what happened after the fact with Poteet. So Poteet, after he got hit from the 41, hard hit into the outside wall, into the safer barrier. And look at Dylan Jacobs just barely squeak on by. But then the first cars... Oh, and then we saw, yeah, that was the contact between Qualls and Carson after Qualls barely touched the 41. And there was the additional contact between those two. And then right there, a hard hit into the door by Alex Drayton. So yeah, this, while it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was quite as big as the first wreck we had, it was definitely more violent because of this after the 56 got hit by the 22, and watch the 56 go high in the air flipping. Look at the air that car got. And then there you see all the vicious hits given to the 22. Man, if anybody took the worst of that incident, it was Benjamin Miles. He got hit everywhere. Door, rear end, the front end. It was brutal. But, yeah, let's go ahead and take you to the restart once again here at Kansas. My goodness. So after that incident, we got more cars out of the race. I believe 8 more are done for today, including 1 car a lap down, being Diego Yepez, who's restarting on the inside. But the drivers that retired out of the race after that other big one were Dylan Poteet, Colin Francis, Benjamin Miles, DJ Curtis, Sean Galligan, Emmanuel Hartnett, Jake Rogers, and Alex Drayton. And I also forgot, yeah, Charles Sanford is done for today after getting in that first wreck. I completely forgot about him. But we're down to 24 cars on track, 23 on the lead lap. Everybody came into pit road. Dylan Thoreau is still your race leader. Second is Jake Baskinger. Third, Dougie Shears. Fourth, Matt McIntyre. Fifth, Jessica Shelton. Sixth, Ethan Hoffman. Seventh, Paul Minnick. Eighth, Trent Dunham. Ninth, James Shelley. 10th, Kyle Matthews. And then Jay Jefferson, Chris Dollarton, Joshua Sekuli, Dylan Jacobs, Cody Lamas, Joshua Collard, James Qualls, James McLeod, Rafael Leduc, Colin Phillips, Jonathan Zorling, Tim Fiegel, and Carson Gum, and Diego Yepez lap down. And Yepez is super slow on track. Everyone goes completely around him except for Sekuli as he's getting held up, but now he's going to finally go down. Oh, Yepez. Oh, slight contact with Qualls, but just barely gets on through. But yeah, Yepez is the slowest car on track. Look, he's only going up to about almost to 180. Now he's up to 180. Let's see his maximum speed. Yeah, 184, and even Zorline with no hood is faster. Whoa, contact! Into the wall goes Lamas. But he keeps it together. Must have been some door-to-door contact a little bit ago. Dougie Shears did have the lead for a second, but now Matt McIntyre has taken back that position. As we are still clean and green here at Kansas with 12 laps to go. And now Shears, who had the lead a little bit, he's now trying to come back and make a run for it. Whoa! Contact between Baskinger and Matthews as they are still putting the pedal to the metal, but they keep it together. As I'm looking around to see how the field is currently going. Yeah, I think Qualls is slightly off the pace. But anyway, Shears hanging on strong up here at the front of the field. As now we see this is 3 wide back here, and this is for 5th between Minnick, Hoffman, and Matthews, but Matthews lets them go. Meanwhile, we got a battle on for 3rd as Trent Dunham's going to easily go by Dylan Thoreau. As right now, Baskinger trying to reel in the 83 of Dougie Shears, as Dougie Shears trying to go for 2 in a row this season. He won at Talladega last week, trying to get his 2nd straight win this season. Meanwhile, slight contact between Dylan Jacobs and Chris Dollarton. Whoa, a little bit of contact between McIntyre and Dollarton. But everything settles out. As meanwhile, Shears still hanging on to the lead, but Trent Dunham, he's gotten up to 2nd now, and he's right behind the 83. And look at Ethan Hoffman. I think he's the only rookie on track who's up to speed and in contention to get anything accomplished. Because Butcher is out, Francis is out, Phillips I think is out. No, he's still on track. And then Yepez is really slow on the racetrack. Meanwhile, Hoffman now has a run to the inside for 2nd and is going to go by Trent Dunham, and he could make a move now to go by Dougie Shears if he can get to the bottom going into turn 1. Then he's going to wait and time his move. And now he's going to get that run. Almost got into the 83. Got a little bit tight right there. But Matt McIntyre back into the 3rd spot. But here comes Dylan Jacobs, who restarted around 13th or 14th. Yeah, 13th or 14th. And is now up here to third, as meanwhile Ethan Hoffman has the race lead and had led that lap, but Dougie Shear's gonna come right back and take it. As I'm looking around, yeah, there are quite a few slow cars on the racetrack. As meanwhile, we got more contenders coming in. Jessica Sheldon, the Daytona 500 winner, she's back up here into the mix, as it's now 5 to go here at Kansas. And they have caught Diego Yepes again. Yeah, everybody's going to have to really, really be careful around him. Otherwise, a major incident could take place. Once again, that is. And Ethan Hoffman's going to end up losing out on potentially the win now, because he's still getting held up by the 10 car. Now Hoffman's going to finally try and get around him. Although that did help to bring a lot of cars back up sort of into the picture. But the top two have kind of broken away from everyone right now, as it's more likely going to come down to Dougie Shear's Dylan Jacobs for the win, unless those guys behind him can make a run for it, as Dylan Jacobs, imagine if that was the finish, that would have been close, but Dylan Jacobs got the run to the inside. Can he clear Shears? It looks like he will. Move Dougie Shears back to second, Dylan Jacobs with the lead, as Paul Minnick got really high on the racetrack and let Jessica Sheldon go for third. Meanwhile, Dylan Jacobs trying to get not only his first top 5 of the season, but his first win of the season, as it's 2 laps to go here at Kansas. And I see Joshua Collard went by for 5th, so that's definitely going to help his chances out in the points, although Jacobs got really up high off of turn 2, and that's going to help Dougie Shears make a comeback at it for the win. Side by side, Jacobs, he's going to have to get down low soon if he's going to have any other chance. As Dougie Shears leads at the line, white flag is out, as Shears got a huge run on the 78. But let's see if the 78 can do the same thing. Isn't really quite reeling him in, and in fact, he's getting challenged by Baskinger. As Shears, all he's got to do is just keep his car clean, and he's scot-free to get his second straight win. Coming out of turn number 4, checkered flag waving, second win in a row. Dougie Shears wins the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas. This is probably going to end up being quite a memorable race for this season. Not only was it a great race, but you also had a couple memorable wrecks. But great racing all throughout, despite what we had take place. But Dougie Shears, only the second driver this season to go 2 in a row in terms of wins, along with Matt McIntyre, who won at Vegas and I believe California as well. But Dougie Shears gets his second straight win, and he gets it here at Kansas. But let's look at the rest of the results. Dylan Jacobs was so close, but just got out-horsed by the 83 at the end, but still gets his first top 5 finish in the second spot. Jake Baskinger with a solid performance in the third position. Joshua Collard, great run in fourth, more likely going to keep the points lead and probably extend it to some degree. And then Paul Minnick with a solid performance in the fifth position. James McLeod with a great run in 6th. Dylan Thoreau, a much-needed performance in 7th. Jessica Sheldon with a great run in 8th. Joshua Sekuli with a second straight top 10 finish in 9th. And then Trent Dunham rounds out the top 10. And then there's the rest of your top 20. Rest of the top 30, including cars out of the race after all the chaos. And then the rest of the field, and then the bottom 5 who won't get points: Zachary Fitzwater, Dylan Young, Preston Plord, Ryan Butcher, and Seth Cole. Well, that does it for our coverage today here at Kansas for the Hollywood Casino 400. We got one more race before we get to All-Star break. Where is it going to be? I'm not so sure, but until we get to the next race, this is Levi McIntyre signing off. As here are your results. Rookie points and regular points heading into the next race. This is Levi McIntyre signing off.